So today I got this huge package in the mail and I want to open it and I want to show you guys what's inside, but there's a story that goes along with this package. Alright, so this story starts back in the fall of 2021. One day I got this random email from a person I've never met before, and it said something to the effect of, "Hey, we're looking for someone who knows a lot about biathlon. Can you help us?" So the person sending these emails was Agatha Michaelek, and she was the biathlon producer for NBC. So whether it was on TV or on the Olympic channel, any biathlon coverage that you watched came through Agatha's production. She was looking for an Olympic statistician. She needed someone who could pull up biathlon data quickly and contextualize it for the average viewer at home, and this person would be working hand in hand with Bill Dolman and Chad Salmela. Now, if you're an American viewer, you know Chad Salmela really well. He has that iconic "Here Comes Diggins" line from the Pyeongchang Olympics.
Coming to the line. Here comes Diggins! Here comes Diggins! Diggins making the play around Sweden. Jesse Diggins to the line. Yes! And it is Jesse Diggins delivering a landmark moment.
And so after this short 15-minute call with Agatha, she offered me this job, and I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm gonna be like a sideline reporter. Chad and Bill are gonna be calling the race, and midway through the race, they're gonna call down to me. I'm gonna be on TV talking about how good a shooter Doro is, or how fast a skier Johannes Tingesbo is. My grandma's gonna see me on TV. It's gonna be amazing. But after doing a little bit more digging and really understanding what the role was, it was more of a behind-the-scenes role where I was going to be in front of a computer and I would be helping Chad and Bill with the broadcast, but more from a statistical sort of helping them keep tabs on what's going on during the race perspective. There's a lot of things I had to consider before I just accepted this job. For one, the role was in Stamford, Connecticut, not in Beijing. So 3 weeks in Connecticut in the middle of February is really hard for a biathlon coach such as myself. I mean, the winter, that's our busy season, and I had a program to run. But after some consideration and talking over with my wife, I realized that this was an opportunity I didn't want to pass up. While being a biathlon coach is my day job, I really feel like my true goal and purpose on this planet is to grow the sport of biathlon as a whole. And being able to work with NBC during the biggest event in our sport was going to be a huge opportunity for me to really promote the sport within our nation. So I put all the pieces in place back at home. I found people to help me out while I was away, and I accepted the job. So in today's video, I want to share my story of my time at NBC. Never done an unboxing video on this channel before, but maybe I'll have to do some more. Oh, baby. Oh, man. I think the best way for me to share my story and share my experience is to share the pictures that I took. Everything took place at the NBC Sports Studio in Stamford, Connecticut, literally on the other side of the country from Beijing, China. So because of that, all of our work schedule was completely flip-flop from the time zone that we were in. So we would sleep all day and work all night during the games so that way we could broadcast everything live when it was actually happening in China. This made for a really weird meal schedule because while this building was the studio, it also had a full cafeteria, and as part of the gig, meals were included. So I was taking the shuttle to the studio. First thing when I woke up, I was gonna say the morning, but in reality, I was waking up at like 6 p.m. I would go to the studio to have breakfast, but because it was like 6, 7 p.m., all they had was dinner food, pizzas, burgers, chicken, lasagnas, all this dinner stuff. And then over the night, I would, have my lunch around midnight, and then I would have my dinner around 6 a.m., which they usually had breakfast food like pancakes and cereals and stuff like that. I would take the shuttle back to the hotel, and then I would sleep all day. So even though my sleep cycle was completely reversed, the meal cycle was not, and that kind of tripped me up a little bit. It was a little bit weird, but that's just kind of a funny anecdote of this whole experience. But so this is the lobby of the studio, and I thought this was really cool because it had all the logos from the past Olympics, and for someone like myself who's grown up around biathlon, the Olympics are the premier event. Like every 4 years, everyone wants to do well at the Olympics, and to see NBC, who has covered the Olympics in the US for all these years, they had all their tokens, all their logos of past Olympic coverages. It was just really cool to know that I was a part of this one up top, Beijing. And I really also liked how NBC put all of their, just their mission and their initiative all over the wall. And everywhere you went, there was stuff like this that was just about like you know, really engaging the team. You really felt inspired while you were there to do your best work. So this is what the hallways looked like in the studio. So every single door that you see here enters into a recording studio. So there would be talent in there recording voiceovers. There would be people editing and making graphics that you see on TV. There would be people editing broadcasts. It was really cool. The whole building is like this. It's not very sexy from the hallway. You know, my first impression was like, am I in the right spot? Like, this is kind of weird, but when you actually look into these rooms, you're like, oh, okay, like I understand what's going on. All the magic happens in the rooms. This was the one cool area. So this is on the way to the cafeteria. They had this sort of casual area where you could just sit down, relax a little bit. There was free coffee and snacks all over the studio. The upper level, there was all the offices. So that's where Agatha worked. And then down here, in these casual areas, all the time, they would have like former athlete interviews, they would have guests and experts on. You're just sitting there and then boom, suddenly like there's live TV happening right next to you. And I'm over here spilling coffee on myself, you know, screaming because it's hot, and they're like, hey, can you quiet down? No, it didn't happen. So this was the room that I worked in. This was the statistician's room. Now, every single desk that you see here and every person that you see in here is a statistician assigned to a particular sport. I would say about half the people in here were former athletes or coaches, and the other half were people who maybe had like math degrees or statistical degrees. This guy standing up right here, this was my official boss. This was John Q. He ran the stats and research department. So if anything ever came up either during a competition or, you know, something we needed to contextualize like for history, it happened in this room, it went through John, and then John would push it out to the broadcast. So one story that I have about this in particular is, if you remember the Russian ice skater who was very young, and there was a very specific scene where the cameras caught her talking to her coach and she's crying, and it's like, what is going on? We're not really sure. They're talking back and forth in Russian, and we got a very clear clip of the conversation between the two of them. Nobody in the room spoke Russian. I'm realizing I actually have quite a few friends and connections who speak Russian, including my landlord from California. I was like, hey, I know this has nothing to do with me, I'm the biathlon guy, but I actually know someone that I could probably call right now who speaks Russian. And they were like, do it. So John texted me the video, I texted it to my landlord. She got back to me in 5 minutes with a full transcript of what was going on. Turns out it wasn't like groundbreaking, you know, TV, but it was just a, you know, the exchange that you would expect, where she's very stressed and frustrated. But it was just kind of a funny instance where of all these people that they have in the research room, not a single person spoke Russian. So yeah, it was just a really interesting way that I was able to contribute to this one moment. So this was my desk, and this is what I would come to every day. Now, on the right side on that screen, this is probably very familiar to most people. This is the IBU data center, and this is what I would use for the majority of the events. In the middle here, this was my laptop that was given to me for the week, and I would communicate with the biathlon production team. Now, on the left screen, this was the broadcast screens. This was the feed that everyone at home was watching, and I was able to watch it too and follow along with the races. Right in the center next to my water bottle, this was the communication that I had with Chad and Bill. So I would wear a headset with a little microphone during the race, and if anything at all ever happened that I noticed that I needed to relay information really quickly to Chad and Bill, I could press one of those buttons and I would be in their ear talking to them. Now, I was given very clear instructions not to do this unless it was an emergency, because as you can imagine, trying to talk and call a race while someone's talking in your ear is really, really annoying. So I tried to never use that thing. We had a different system that we could use, which I could type in information and it would pop up on a screen, and I'll show you that in a minute. Now, that booklet that you see on the ground there, that is all the research and data that our team did prior to the Olympics that goes through, that really contextualizes the entire Olympic history of the sport of biathlon. It gives you some bios for all the US athletes and all, you know, some of the more important athletes of the Olympics, like Quentin Fillon right here. Gives them all their historical data. It goes into each race. Like if you wanted to know the history of the women's sprint at the Olympics, I got all the medal winners. I've got the recap from last year and all this other super handy information that's right here in this booklet. Now, a lot of this information, you know, it can be found online, And as someone like myself who's been around the sport for a long time, I got a lot of this information up here as well. But it was really cool to read through this. And there were plenty of things in here that I learned about the sport for the first time. But this is the production booth. And I'll give you a quick tour, but as you can see, we have Chad here calling the race, and then through the window, he's got the producer, Agatha. So here's Chad's booth. On the top screen, he has basically the live result. This was provided by the Olympic production team over in Beijing. They sent all the feed, all the results and everything. We were sort of at their mercy. Whatever they provided us is what we got. On the two TV screens in front of Chad, those are basically the feeds that the viewer at home sees. So he saw exactly what you saw. Unfortunately, there was no secret angles, no secondary cameras that, we got to decide, let's load camera A, camera B, replay. We didn't unfortunately get to control any of that. It was whatever they were sending from Beijing is what we got. Now on the tablets, Chad has the data center open down there, as you can see. In the middle, he has Zoom open where he's actually Zooming with Bill because Bill was recording from his home in the Midwest. And then that final tablet there, that is the program that I had access to. So I would type up things, put it on there, every once in a while, like they're looking at Johannes Tingus bow, but Paul Schomer just shot clean. So I would just, hey, FYI, Paul Schomer's clean. And Chad would be calling Bo and say, and for our American audience, FYI, Paul Schomer just shot clean. And then here's Agatha's booth, and as you can see, she's got all the same information, all her notes, and there's our intern Grace, who is also part of our biathlon production. So it was really cool being able to walk around the halls and everything and look into like these huge production rooms. This was, all the feeds of all the sports, everything that's going on. Switch to feed 2, we're gonna pull up hockey in just a minute and we're gonna move over to like the live show, commercial break now. That was all going on in this room, and I really like how they had this window here so you could like kind of watch it happen. So I decided I really want to make sure I'm getting the most out of this opportunity. And I asked Agatha, I was like, hey, can I just like follow you around like during your day and just sit in on everything that you're doing as a producer for NBC? And she, thank you to Agatha, was just like, hell yeah, let's go. And that's when I got into this room, and this is the editing room. So right after the race was called, it was over, they cut the feed from Beijing, Agatha would run into the editing room and work with our editors to literally re-watch the race and cut it up into segments. You can watch the full hour and a half, 2 hour, however long the race is, you can watch that on TV, but then maybe in a couple hours on prime time, they show a 30-minute recap of the race. That's what they're doing here. They're cutting down the race to get it to a 30-minute recap. And Agatha's a total professional. During the live event, she's writing down key moments, and her biathlon IQ, as someone who has no biathlon background at all, she's a producer that was just, hey, here you go. You get biathlon. She totally learned the sport. She totally picked up all the really key moments in the sport and was able to immediately just go, all right, at this timestamp, we got a favorite on the range and they shot clean. Here we go, we have Elvira Oiberg coming in to shoot prone. She's a favorite, maybe she ended up medaling in this race. We got to see her prone, make sure that we get her shooting into the production. So watching this was really cool. And also these editors, they're using basically the same program that I use for my YouTube channel, but they're just flying through it. They can get an entire 2 hours of footage condensed into 30 minutes with commercial breaks, half the time it takes me to record a 10-minute video. So it's incredible. It was just really cool to be a part of this and see this, and just, for my own experience as a YouTuber and someone who's trying to create content, it was just super cool to see this all be done. So after, the Olympics were over, I got on the plane, I flew back home, and then I just went about my day. And honestly, I didn't really hear anything from NBC after that. Because of the ski community and Chad's involvement in ski programs, I do keep in touch with Chad every once in a while, but really other than that, nothing has happened in regards to this whole experience, and that's fine. I got other stuff going on, and they don't need a biathlon statistician all the time because biathlon's such a small sport. So I didn't really hear anything for a long time, and then suddenly in May of 2023, over a year later, I get a text out of the blue from Agatha, and it's just a long list of names with my name circled, and I'm like, what the heck is this? And I'm thinking, and that's when I realized, oh man, I don't want to drop anything. see, I don't know. It's just a black box. I don't know if there's like a, oh, here we go. So for our production of the 2022 Beijing Olympic Games, we won an Emmy Award. Look at this thing. It's heavy. Oh man, this is so heavy. And look at the production, I mean, look at the presentation too. It comes in this box and everything. 2022-2023 Sports Emmy Awards, Outstanding Live Special for the Olympic Winter Games. Brian Halligan, Associate Producer. So no, I didn't win this. I mean, this was for the whole production of the Olympics. Hundreds of people were named. But you know, when I've told a few people that we ended up winning this award and I'm listed as apparently an associate producer, and everyone told me, oh, you gotta get the Emmy. I mean, you gotta get it. Like, how many people do you know have this award? I mean, this is an award they give out on TV. But in reality, like, I think about the connections that I made while I was in Stanford. Obviously, I met Chad and Agatha, and they were amazing mentors for me. I got to meet Keegan Randall, who in the cross-country ski community is a legend. She's like the GOAT of US skiing. And I got to meet her because she was there as a TV personality for cross-country. I also got to meet Lindsey Vonn, which everyone who is an American and knows winter sports knows Lindsey Vonn. And also, like I said earlier, I learned a ton about the production process. I mean, just taking the feed in, the commentary, the editing, the producing, just seeing Agatha at work, just very professionally done. And as like a young content creator, that was really cool. I like I said, I kind of hesitated to want to pull the trigger and get this thing, because even though I'm listed as an award winner, they don't just send you the award. You got to pay for this, and it's more expensive than you think. Let me just tell you that. The reason I decided to pull the trigger and go for it was because on the last day of my experience at NBC, I asked Agatha, I said, why me? Like, how did you get in touch with me? Why did you, ask me to do this? And she said that I came recommended as, someone who loves biathlon, knows the sport really well. And she said that she Googled my name, did some background research on me. She saw my YouTube channel, and she immediately knew that I was the person for this role. And so when I look at this, yeah, I think about my time at NBC. I see this as a representation of just my YouTube community and all the inspiration that you guys have given me to continue on and produce bigger and better biathlon content on YouTube. Because believe me, it's a lot of time and work that goes into all of these videos. From the research done to the recording to the multiple times that I mistakenly say something, I have to go back and say it again and then edit all that stuff out, and all the graphics and everything. Everything you see on here is done by me. There's times where I don't feel like doing it sometimes. But then suddenly I'll get a comment on one of my videos that I uploaded years ago, and it's just someone saying like, oh my God, finally someone's creating biathlon content on YouTube, and it gives me that little spark of inspiration to continue going. So when I see this, I think of, you guys, the YouTube community, who really inspired me. And because you guys inspired me to keep going out there, it just put me in this position where I was the perfect person to be a part of this awesome journey that ended up, winning this award. I unfortunately wasn't there for, the award presentation, and the world didn't get to hear my acceptance speech. So if you'll humor me for 45 seconds, I'd like to do that now. Well, first of all, I need to thank the NBC Biathlon production team, Agatha, Chad, Bill, John Cube, the stats boss, Martin, my stats and research partner, as well as Paul, the editor. I want to thank my parents for getting me into biathlon at a very young age and supporting my journey through biathlon, and also my amazing wife, Kate, for putting up with all my YouTube obsession. Being quiet when I'm recording, to meticulously scanning through all my YouTube videos, trying to find all the typos so I don't look stupid online. Oh my gosh, I appreciate you so much for that. And then finally, thank you to my YouTube community for engaging and interacting and, motivating me to create bigger and better content, because without you and your support and your encouragement, this opportunity probably never would have happened. So thank you so much, and subscribe.